Lately, I can hear this question all the time. Did I miss the gains? The markets went up and many altcoins followed. Is it still worth going into markets? Today we're gonna discuss the altcoin season indicator and how you can leverage it in order to make better returns. Hello and welcome to Unsymmetric. My main goal is to show you how you can utilize various data in order to make better trading and investing decisions and get better returns on your investment in the long term. Also, I really hope that you're happy with the videos on my channel, and I'm looking forward to hearing more suggestions on what you would like to see. And if you like what you see currently, please consider subscribing to my channel. Now, let's look at the current market situation. So if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart, we can see that the Bitcoin price decreased to 15.5k after the FTX collapse. We were consolidating in that range up to 18k for a while, until recently when we broke 200 daily moving average and reached the higher local high, which was at 24.2k, and we have a support at 23k, and we're gonna see how this thing's gonna play out. So we are also approaching a golden cross, which usually signals as a bullish sign of the market, but if we look the previous few times, often it happened that after reaching golden cross, we had a decline in price and then we had an increase in price. Sometimes it even happened that we need to break golden cross 2 times. You can see it here again, decline, then increase in price. So we're gonna see if this history gonna repeats or not, but we had a bearish sign as well, which is a bearish divergence when it comes to RSI. So we're either gonna have another leg up and then maybe a test of 200 daily moving average, or we're gonna experience that pullback now, and if we hold it, that would be, in my opinion, probably the best time to go into alts, and not just the alts that are like in top 50, top 100. In that case, you would be able to consider either the lower ones when it comes to return on your investments. Another thing that I like to take into the consideration is on-balance volume. And if you look into the on-balance volume, usually it follows the RSI, but in this case, actually there is a volume that supports this increase in price. And I think that's another bullish sign for a market, at least in a short time frame. So let's move to Altcoin Season Index. The Altcoin Season Index pretty much shows you whether you should invest into Bitcoin or altcoins, and pretty much it looks at how different altcoins perform against Bitcoin in the last 90 days. So since it is looking at 50 different altcoins, each of these coins represents 2%. And when you look into the index of 25 or lower shows pretty much that it's the Bitcoin season, so it means that the Bitcoin is not outperformed by more than 13 altcoins, and when the index is above 75, that means that the Bitcoin is not outperformed by more than 38 coins, or pretty much 75% of them. Altcoin season index also allows you to look at the monthly and yearly data. Yearly data, in my opinion, is not that useful because you will already notice that, and it will be usually in a bull market. The monthly data is pretty useful because it has less delay and you can notice the change in the momentum much faster. So as every other indicator, it has its advantages and disadvantages, and obviously as every other indicator, you can't look at just one thing to predict the future of the markets. One of the biggest disadvantages is that it's delayed indicator, so most likely you will miss a large percentage of the move if you're waiting for the index to drop to range of 25 to transfer your alts into Bitcoin, or if you're waiting for the index of 75 to start investing into the altcoins. Actually, majority of the people understand this wrong, and I will explain you this in the next segment. In my opinion, better thing to look into is the BTC dominance, because if you're looking into the BTC dominance, you can notice the change in trends much faster, and you can notice the thing that I mentioned, that currently the Bitcoin dominance is slowly increasing, while stable coins are decreasing the most, and we can notice that the altcoins started rising recently as well. Also, if you deep dive into this chart, you can think of increased altcoin dominance as a belief of people into the markets and that we are transitioning into the bull run. And once you see that the altcoin dominance is decreasing, you can pretty much look at it as a disbelief of the people into the markets and that people are gonna transition more into the stable coins and Bitcoin to hedge themselves and the gains that they acquired during the bull run. Another limitation of Altcoin season index is it doesn't take small altcoins into the consideration. For example, and if you look into the accumulation data of different altcoins, you can see that Aptos increased around 300% since the local low, and the Bitcoin dominance is still increasing more in comparison to alts, which means that there is so many small cap coins that haven't increased pretty much at all. This is important thing to take into consideration because there is more and more altcoins, so you would expect altcoin dominance to increase much faster, and that's still not happening actually. Another limitation of altcoin season indicator is that pretty much it looks at only 50 different coins, and so pretty much on some of these coins decrease in its performance and the new altcoins increase. The first one might drop from the top 50 and the second one might go into the top 50, and that pretty much signals more altcoin dominance that is actually happening, because it just looks into the coin which increased in price, it doesn't take the other one into consideration. And if you look into the recent period, if you look my previous video where I addressed altcoins accumulation phase, you can see that the altcoins which are like in a range from like 40 to 50, they're changing very frequently because we have these oscillations in the markets. Most of the people that are looking at altcoin season index get it completely wrong, and the thing that they do wrong is they wait for the altcoin season index to break 75 to start investing into the alts, and that's honestly the time when the majority of the move actually already happened. So you want to do the thing that is completely opposite of it. Now we are at the state where you should consider to transition to invest into the altcoins when we are at the bottom of the range. And usually you want to do that on a market bottom or some pullback once the start of the bull market is confirmed. The same applies for Bitcoin. You don't want to start investing into the Bitcoin once we reach the Bitcoin season. You want to transition to investing into the Bitcoin probably in this area before the altcoin dominance start decreasing, because once it start decreasing, again, you already missed a big part of that move, and just by taking these things into consideration is probably one of the easiest way to make the profits in crypto markets. In my opinion, I use and utilize this data a little bit differently. When we are at the bottom of the market, if you can identify that the bottom already happened or it's local low, it doesn't matter. I don't like to look like 90 days behind, because it really depends whether the price was higher or lower in comparison to the current one. What I like to do is like when we are expecting the bull market and we are currently at the market bottom or near it, I like to look at the local low and how the altcoins perform in comparison to that local low, because it gives you a better representation than just looking at the previous 90 days, for example, because now it's like 6 February, and if we go 3 months behind, that's like 6 November, and that's the exact time when this big move happened. And it's the big difference if you're looking into the altcoin season from this point or this point, because on this point, like many altcoins preserve their strength in comparison to BTC, while at this point majority of them decreased more than Bitcoin did. So I always like to take these points and look from there. The opposite applies for the peak of the bull market. So usually when you're in a bull market, you want to look at this point. For example, if we are in this range, whether we are here or here or here, I would always look at this point because it's the top of the market and you want to know how much value the asset preserved from the top of the market to the point where you're currently in. So again, I tracked that into the altcoin accumulation spreadsheet, so you can see current price in comparison to all-time high and how much value the coins preserved. So my main point is that you shouldn't look at like specifically at 90 days. You should look at where something happened in the market. Whether you want to look into the recent consolidation period, whether you want to look at some local bottom, but you need to define the point from which you want to look how the altcoins perform against Bitcoin and why you are looking from that specific time frame. So currently we are in a very weird situation in the market where it's hard to see whether the price is gonna go up or down, and probably it's best to wait and see how the thing's gonna play out before you make your moves and create a strategy for the next period. If you're not invested in the markets at all, that's probably a mistake, but if you are like all in, that might be a mistake as well. So like for the first group, probably the best situation is like to invest some money into the Bitcoin at least, and like if the price continues selling up, I would take partial profits along the way until the pullback. And like if the price just goes down, I would probably transfer that Bitcoin to altcoins, and on this way you will probably compensate the losses once the market start going up again. If you're like all in currently, I would probably like just wait. If the markets go up, I would take partial profits along the way. If the markets go down, probably the best thing to do is to hold your assets. Currently, when it comes to altcoin dominance, the only alts that are performing are like the ones that are like in top 100, 200. Of course, there are some exceptions, but in general, the lower ones aren't performing that well. And if we get a pullback, once we get it, and if we hold a support at 200 daily moving average, that would be a great time to start investing into the smaller alts as well. Of course, many people avoid small caps completely, and that's a fair strategy as well, especially for people that don't want to invest additional time into researching them. If you invested into some alts like Aptos and Phantom, which had a huge spike in price recently, I would probably still stay in them, because usually these moves ends up as blow-off tops, which means that they increase highly and decrease pretty fast, probably like in one day, and we still haven't saw that move yet, so they will probably continue rallying up. Again, if you're not invested in them already and not in profits, in my opinion, I would keep shorting them, I would keep longing them, because in my opinion, like if you are not in profits already, there may be better coins when it comes to risk-reward ratio. Anyway, I hope that you liked the video, and I'm looking forward to hear what's your opinion, if you're gonna see a pullback or another leg up. What's your current strategy? Also, if you like the video, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Bye! Markets are not black and white. If you look at boiling water, water doesn't boil instantly, there are levels in between. The same applies to financial markets. You're not always either in a bull or bear market. And that's why you should both go in and exit the markets in stages in order to be profitable on a long term.